Khomeini is a king of Iran. Okay. So why do you say that? Because what? Because he can do anything and everything?
And the whole idea of elections in Iran is a farce. It's fake. There are no elections in Iran whatsoever. No Iranian has a voice under the system of Walayat al-Faqih, which is the guardianship of the jurist. Can I just explain that to the American listener? Now, we're familiar with communism, we're familiar with socialism, democracy. There's this system in Iran that's not just theocracy. It is the guardianship of the jurist, Walayat al-Faqih, which means Khamenei, or a person in his position before him, Khomeini, is the guardian over all Muslims, not just the Shia Muslims, even the Sunnis. He claims he's the guardian over Islam, the Pakistanis, the Malaysians, Indonesians, Saudis, UAE. It's ridiculous. Okay, what does that mean? It means he has the authority, absolute authority, on behalf of God to do whatever he wants. He can look at you and say, Patrick, you and your wife are divorced, and boom, just like that, your marriage is terminated, simply because he said so. So the whole idea that 90 million people are expected to vote for a president, and then the president goes and kisses the hand of Khamenei and says, you know what, ignore the people. Whatever you say, I will do. That is the biggest scam in the history of scams that the Iranian people have to live through. And it's not just a disaster, it's something that is somehow tolerated by the international community, especially the Europeans. They tolerate it. There are no elections in Iran. United Nations, what do you have? You have a president, you have prime minister attend, you have kings attend, fine. You have chancellors, you have chairmen of certain parties attend, like the CCP, fine. But there is no such thing as a president, and then above him there is the supreme Islamic leader who rules on behalf of God, who gets to run the country, and he thinks in his mind run the world the way he wants. That is Islamism. There is no such thing as God speaking to Khamenei, telling him, you're my deputy on behalf of the Savior, the Mahdi, so kill as you like, bomb as you like, butcher as you like. There is no such thing in the Quran that says that. What we have is a regime. We don't even have a government in Iran. There is no government. And it's very wrong for people to think there is a government system in Iran. There is no, it's a regime. It's a cult of clerics that govern Iran in the name of God. Why? Because it's the best tool to use against populations en masse. Religion. Because the minute you oppose Khamenei, it's not that you opposed the ruler. No. You're certainly not Muslim anymore. How can you oppose the supreme ruler who is the guardian on behalf of God and his Savior on planet Earth? So clearly you're not a Muslim. Clearly you can't be praying, because if you pray, then you would have had the piety to stand with the regime. And if that's the case, then you must also eat pork. And slowly they will drive you out of anything called faith. And that's when you become a mufsid fil ard, execution, you're a corrupter on planet Earth, and so on. We need to distinguish between Islam and Islamism, because there is a lot there that the Islamist relies upon you to ignore. The Islamist will not tell you, I am an Islamist and they are Muslims. No, he'll tell you, I am Muslim. And again, extremist doesn't tell you he's an extremist, and an Islamist doesn't tell you he's an Islamist. They're using the religion. Half of them don't even pray. You think Ilhan Omar can recite the Quran? You think she can open the page and start reading? That impossible. These people, the majority of care, don't even know the structure and the chronology of the Quran. They don't even know the context behind revelation. These are people who, if they need anything now, ChatGPT, that's their faith. But governments have allowed them to be the face of the Muslim community in America.
In 2009, 2008, late December 2008, you went back to Rome, right, to go to school there for 3 years. And Rome...
From 2008 until 2013.
Right, but you went back 08, 09 to go to school there. And you were there for 2013, yes. And Rome is where Khamenei is from, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Khamenei is in Rome. If not, that is where he studied with Ruhollah Khomeini back in the days when they were fighting against the Shah in the plans of the first time exile, the second time exile. They've tried multiple different times. Khomeini was kicked out and he went to all over the place and then eventually at France. When you went to school there, you can break down what the school structure is so the audience can also understand. When you went to school there, at what point was it when you said, I can't subscribe to this teaching, I got to get out of here? What caused that?
Okay, beautiful question. Now, Khamenei was born in Mashhad, that's Khurasan, the other side of the country. Mashhad and Qom are very important, so our listeners, Qom is where the holy shrine of Hazrat Ma'suma is, the sister of Imam Riza, who is buried in Mashhad. Imam Riza is the 8th successor of the Holy Prophet. So we are 12ers, we have 12 Imams. Number 8 is Imam Riza. So that's the holy city of Mashhad, and I was born in the holy city of Qom, and I went back to study in the holy city of Qom in December 2008. And I stayed until 2013. Now, Khamenei and Khomeini both studied in the holy city of Qom, and including Hassan Nasrallah, the former Secretary General of Hezbollah. They all studied in Qom. Now, Qom is a seminary that has education that is basic, intermediary, and somewhat entry level into the advanced studies. People usually finish their studies in Qom and then head over to Najaf in Iraq, which is the main ancient seminary for Shia Muslims in the world. And that's 1,000 years old. When it comes to Qom, Qom was an open society, an open seminary where you had mosques and Islamic centers, and you had a cleric, a senior cleric, who had 20, 30, up to 1,000 students sit around him, and he would speak about theology, Islamic law, doctrine, ethics, mysticism, you name it. Come the Iranian Revolution of 1979, and by the way, it's not an Iranian revolution, there's nothing Iranian about it. The listeners need to know that Khomeini was an Indian man, right? He's not even Iranian, but it was an Islamist revolution. Not an Islamic revolution, an Islamist revolution. Coming to the 1979, Khomeini understood that he had to do something about these clerics. He had to do something about Islamic law that is governing Iran and governing society. So what he did is that he turned these freestyle education circles and systems into institutions. And he turned the seminary into a university, and he called it Al-Mustafa International University. The university which I studied in, and I should say, Patrick, one of the best decisions I made in my life, as I always say, was withdrawing from that university.
Why is that?
Because it is the university that is ruled by the IRGC, ruled by the military that is responsible for supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and so on. But we should also mention that it is not a university like the traditional universities that we have. It is the umbrella organization for over 10, 15,000 schools and institutions, educational and seminaries in Iran, across the country, and now even in the Middle East. And they have deputies everywhere recruiting students. Now, so its building on Khiyaban Mu'allim, on Mu'allim Street, is not an actual university you can go in and study. No, it is an administration that sends you off to another university. When you graduate from that university, you get a certificate from Al-Mustafa University. So these guys will teach you a revolutionary Islam. How do we export the revolution of Khomeini to Australia, to America, to Canada? How do we bring American citizens? And if I could just ask, could you on Google just put Al-Mahdi School, Qom, with an I, yeah, School, Qom, Qum, yeah. Okay, that's the first one there. You see, that is where Americans go to. Click on that first picture for me, please. Okay, so you see on the left side where that white banner is? That's my room. I was in there with 13 students. That's my dormitory. The first level is where you have the classrooms, and that you see at the bottom there, that rails, the blue and white rails at the bottom, that there takes you to the basement. Okay, beneath there are more classrooms that look just the same. So first level, second level, from the top coming down are where students sleep, and then the ground floor is the classrooms, and beneath that is more classrooms. My room is room number 13, on the right side, where the banner is.
That's where you were at.
That's where I was for 2 years. This is where the British, the Australians, the Westerners who are taken from the West are taken here. Why? To learn Farsi. You learn Farsi, you can understand what Khamenei is saying. He can move you properly. This is the first thing they do. You see those two pictures there? Mm-hmm. That's the main library that was added in later. Khamenei and Khomeini at the very top. That's the library. That was added later. That's higher.
Who gets to go there? Anybody can go to the library?
Yes, because everyone here is vetted. Everyone here is an asset. So the deputy of Al-Mustafa University who comes to the West sees you as an asset. Okay, Imam Tawhidi, Australian passport, you speak English, you speak Arabic, you're somewhat charismatic, you're convincing. You know what? Let's take you to Qom. And so this is where the brainwashing happened. From here, they take you to the Friday sermons of Khamenei. This is where they first come in. First year is Farsi, and second year is, they call it Tamhidiyya, which is the basics of Islam. Then you move on to the university-style seminaries. Right? Now, here's the issue. They say 1 year, but it's never 1 year. We have 12 imams. All of them except one have funeral days, 3 days, birthdays, 3 days, the holidays of the revolution, the victory, this, that. You're looking at 1.5 to 2 years here for learning Farsi. And they use that to not just strengthen your language, but for you to be accustomed with this region, this street.
Who were some of your classmates?
Okay, before we get there, next door is the Paigah of the Basij. The Basij, which are the youth corps of the IRGC, is literally next door to this building. So my classmates are, I'm going to say this, and I haven't said this before, the clerics who are now running the Al-Quds March, which is the pro-IRGC Hezbollah march on the last Friday of Ramadan every single year, running them in New York and in Toronto, they were my classmates. We studied together.
Did they get brainwashed?
Of course, because everything they do, look, a cleric needs to talk religion. How do you know a cleric respects himself? When he sticks to what he is meant to be doing. Religion, theology, doctrine, community service. They're all politicized. Political clerics of no value. Their understanding of religion is very shallow, very deep. It needs to be deep, but it's very shallow. An atheist can take them down easily with 2 questions because they haven't been taught the proper foundations of theology and doctrine in Islam. It's always been Khomeini's biography, Khamenei's biography. When he was born, he came out of his mother's womb and there was a scream in the heavens, Ya Ali. Have you heard that? Okay, so that's what they're taught. Everything revolves around the character of Khamenei as the savior.
Did you ever meet him?
No, I have not. Oh, here's the thing. Meet face to face? No. But we were together in a... so when he came to Qom, and we were chosen by a cleric. I'm going to mention his name, Sheikh Adman. I won't mention his first name, but he was the man responsible for the Australian students. He came to me and he said, we're doing 2 things. We are going the week before Khamenei comes to Qom to Tehran, and I still have the entrance ID badge that you wear, and you attend. You're not sitting in the front lines because that's where the IRGC officials sit. You're sitting towards the center of his sermon. I saw him, and again, to be honest with you, they prepare you for a spiritual event. It's not like the bus drops you off and you enter into a mosque and then there he is. No. It's not tunnels, but it's alleys that you walk through that are prepared with banners and signs and flags and just symbolism, revolutionary symbolism. And then you enter and the guards everywhere, the sepah, and they're green and sometimes blue. And then they usher you, and your director of the group, on that day he changes because his life depends on this. He becomes a different person. He's not the guy that is nice with you. So he's very strict. He takes you in We sit here, and then when you go in, you see there's an ocean of people. You're not the only one, not the only group. And before Khamenei comes, you have his henchmen, clerics, who come up on the microphone, who rally up the audience. So by the time Khamenei is coming out, that's why people are walking behind him and kissing the place where his feet touch, and death to America, death to English, death to Israel, death to the hypocrites. That's how it happened. They build you up. And I'll tell you this, as deviant as Khamenei is, and as crooked as his people are, they are excellent speakers. Khamenei is useless. The only thing he's good for is he's a really good speaker. Khamenei can move a rock when he speaks. And I felt that. This guy is a real criminal, I'll tell you. There's a lot of psychology involved. You see where Khamenei sits? That's a shipping container. He sits in a shipping container. So 2 shipping containers that are stuck together, and they welded together. If you want to pull it up.
Pull this up.
Yeah, pull this up. He's actually in a shipping container, and it's bulletproof.
Put shipping container.
Yeah, not Khomeini. That's
Khamenei.
That's the
Rob's
equivalent of Hitler.
His basic names, Rob. How are you getting this wrong? Shipping container.
Okay, hang on. You see that third picture? The third picture. Yeah, that. So that's a shipping container. There's a curtain behind him. Or you can just go back and say, change the 2 words to Friday sermon. Yeah. Okay, see that? The first picture, for example. You see that? That's a shipping container that he's in. Or for example, change the last 2 words. Leave them. Add to them the word Qom, Q-U-M. Because he was in a shipping container in Qom. Of course, with pictures, they won't show it. But where he stands, that third picture on top, the one I pointed to earlier, that one there, for example, behind him is 2 welded shipping containers that they put him in, and they're covered. They're not going to have DHL or anything on them. They're covered up nicely, and because, number one, it's security, and no one can get to him except for a guy called Wahid. You want to pull up the name Wahid, just next to Khamenei, put Wahid.
How do you spell it?
W-A-H-I-D. Sorry, could I have some tissue, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. Thank you.
You want to go to images? This guy?
Okay, that guy. That's his number 1 henchman. He's the real ruler of Iran, not the president. It's this guy. He's the head of Khamenei's office, Khamenei's affairs, Wahid. There should be a Wikipedia about him.
There is. If you just had it a minute ago. There you go. I thought you just had it, Rob.
What's that first one? Faces of Crime.
Website. They do have a description, AI overview, but the only Wikipedia that shows up seems to be Office of the Supreme Leader of Iran.
He's a right-hand man to Iran's Ali Khamenei, often known as General Vahid.
Yeah, he goes by one name, Wahid, in the whole country.
Okay, so where were you going with this, with who he is?
Okay.
Rob, can we turn on the AC a little bit? Now it's a little bit hot.
Wahid is the guy who decides where Khamenei goes. And we need to understand the makeup of Iran as a country so we can understand how we got to Hezbollah, how we got to Hamas, because Hamas is for sale. Hamas was paid by Iran. They're Sunni, but the Shia paid for them. In Iran, I want to be fair to you and to the listeners. I want to take a step back. Many people say the reason why the Muslim world is successful, and they mean the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they say is because they pushed Islam to the side, not because Islam is good in these countries. That's what they say. And of course, that's not right. In Iran, we have a system where the clerics rule over not only the government, but also the hospitals, the technology sector, the education sector. There is no sector in Iran, in the intelligence, that the clerics are not ruling in. So you cannot have a fully functioning, vibrant society when you don't have experts on top. The UAE, what they did was they respected religion. Religion is sacred. It cannot be placed in an intelligence department or in a hospital. So they bring experts to these fields. That is the difference, my brother. That's the difference. Iran went down this path of destruction because it is run by mullahs. It's run by clerics. It's not run by experts.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.